Bleep them picks. 49ers going all in with a trade for Christian McCaffrey last night, Perloff. Right about the end of Thursday Night Football is when this started hitting everybody's timeline. And I got to say, kudos to the 49ers because they are looking at the rest of the NFC and thinking, why not us? And making a big trade for McCaffrey. I like it.
Yeah, and there's a couple things that are really interesting about it. I guess the Rams were in on it too, and I didn't realize that the Rams and Niners basically try and trade for every guy and keep them away.
Do the Rams have any picks left? I mean, the 49ers barely do.
Well, McCaffrey originally was 2 first-round picks for Christian McCaffrey was the first thing. We all said that's insane.
Yeah.
But it is pretty cool that the Niners did not have to give up a first-round pick. It turns out a first-round pick they did not have.
Yeah, they do not have one. It's the Trey Lance.
I heard Adam Schefter say the Panthers looked at the market and got all these calls from a bunch of teams who had already traded their first round picks, like the Rams and the Niners. So on paper, it looks great. I patting myself on the back here. I did pick the Niners and the Bills in the Super Bowl last February.
I remember you did that.
Yeah, but it was all about Trey Lance. I was a Trey Lance super fan.
Yeah.
So
now you're a McCaffrey super fan.
Yeah, I feel like McCaffrey gives a little bit of spark back to this team. Like all of a sudden, they're super interesting. Jimmy G, we've seen that before. He's gotten to a Super Bowl, got to the NFC title game last year. We know he can win football games, but there was nothing exciting about it. Now you look at the San Francisco team, and whether it works or not, whether he can stay healthy, it's like, oh, this is a team I want to keep my eye on. This is a team that's definitely going to be in the mix in the NFC.
And think about it. The move to get McCaffrey kind of takes the ball even further out of Jimmy's hands. They've never really asked Jimmy to go and win the game for them. So this is another weapon, obviously running the ball, but catching, balls out of the backfield. Yeah. The guy's lined up like 500 snaps in his career in the slot and a wide receiver I saw on Pro Football Focus today. So he's so versatile. The question is obviously, can he stay healthy? And, to be fair, I know they don't do this in the NFL. They don't load management. But if you were ever going to load manage, I guess that's the word I'd use, in the NFL, I would do it with McCaffrey.
Totally.
Because the 49ers are going to win a lot of games. They're going to be a playoff team. So have him ready to go in December. Would an NFL team actually have the stones to do that? If any of them would, I think it'd be the 49ers.
So, I don't know that they're going to get that many wins because they're 3-3 now. I think they're 3-3, and they play the Chiefs, and they're 3-4. If you go 3-4, you're in a bit of you got to play your stars every game. I don't know if you can afford to Kawhi Leonard up this thing.
He's such a good candidate,
I know, it makes perfect sense, but I think if you do lose this game to the Chiefs, which they're only 2.5-point underdogs, which is interesting to me that it's so close because they haven't said whether McCaffrey's going to play, then you got to win a lot of games. I panicked last Sunday. I watched a lot of the Niners-Falcons games. I don't know why. I think my remote batteries were gone. But
did you have a financial interest in that game?
I think I picked the Falcons, and the Niners were definitely shorthanded. But this did not feel like a team with any positive momentum. It felt like, we're watching the end here. So now this gives them another chance. Now they have a running back who plays wide receiver, a wide receiver who plays running back. They had a quarterback who actually played running back because they had no interest in having Trey Lance throw the ball. So this is going to confuse opponents. Although I worry, this all sounds good on paper, right? But you're looking at the Niners. Don't you just basically put 9 guys about 7 yards deep and say, go ahead, give it to Debo or give it to McCaffrey. We know what's coming. It's the same thing. And have Jimmy G beat you.
Yeah, they become a little predictable. See, I think you can ward against that, but this is going to have to be like a Kyle Shanahan sort of like chef kiss masterpiece. He's going to have to get creative. And the cool thing is that's what he does best.
Yeah.
He is really good at getting creative. I mean, getting creative within the run game. They're kind of like a nuts and bolts kind of thing, but I think he sees this, McCaffrey as someone who's so versatile. And also, don't forget, he gets to run with a fullback now, You get Juszczyk, who can be leading the way for you, which he never had in Carolina. So maybe that's a little something, too. I can't wait to see it. Again, it's just going to be whether McCaffrey is healthy when they're down the stretch trying to make this playoff push.
And we both know Nick Bosa's health has a lot to do with it. He's been in and out with a groin injury, but they're still the number 1 defense in the NFL by a large margin.
Looks like he's going to play this week.
Yeah, so I think it's a perfect combination, right? They have the best defense in the NFL. Fred Warner is a monster linebacker. So you want to have a run game, a ball control game. It worked a few years ago when they got to the Super Bowl. I am, however, I mean, is it okay to say you're nervous about Christian McCaffrey's health?
Yeah, I mean, what? Of course, that's the only thing you're nervous about. I mean, I think he could play on Sunday. I don't want to get the running back community mad at me like I did the offensive line community, saying just run him, just throw him in there.
I'm with you so much on this.
I don't want the smoke, but I think that I would think that he'd be able to come in for a couple plays.
Right. Usually that's why rookie running backs are good. You just hand the ball and say find the hole. But McCaffrey's going to do he's a receiver running back. So I could see them taking a little time. I don't know. I hope they play him. Is it going to be a bummer if we see the Niners without Christian McCaffrey on Sunday?
Well, you do have the Chiefs, as you mentioned, that they're home for, and then you're going at the Rams next week. So,
definitely need him for that.
You definitely want McCaffrey, and then you get your bye. So.
Okay, so you mentioned the NFC seems open for business.
I think that's a big reason why they made this move.
But talk about the NFC West looks really, because the Rams, they feel really ineffective on offense. They don't scare me at all. Yeah. So you're going to take down the Rams. I know the Cardinals won last night, but they're still kind of a mess.
Well, who thought that defense was going to come alive with the back-to-back pick sixes? I know it's a sore subject because you're friends with Andy Dalton, but...
No, I totally understand. But that win that was against an injury-depleted Saints team, I don't think that's sustainable. And then you got the Seahawks. Gino's great, but they can't play any defense. Yep. So the Niners really should get to the playoffs here, but it is a bit of a thinner margin than they want. By the way, Andy Dalton was throwing some dimes yesterday.
I knew you wanted to bring it up. I know. We can't even get through a full segment.
Can we say something nice about him to balance the picks?
His hair does look great. It's my fault. I brought him up. I knew as soon as I mentioned his name, you were going to come in with the dream team defense of Andy Dalton. One of those picks was bad. The one in the end zone that he tried to thread it between like four guys.
The two of them, then the pick six was bad. But he threw for 361 yards and 4 TDs. I'll take that any day of the week.
4 TDs. I mean, you know. All right.
I mean, do you know the Saints have the number 3 offense in the entire NFL and the number 31 defense?
Okay, but I'll ask you, do you think the reason why they lost yesterday, one of the reasons is because Andy Dalton threw those picks?
No.
Definitely.
Yeah, those picks were a big part of it, but I don't think Andy Dalton was certainly one of many people to blame. I think he had 8 drops that he completed. He only had 12 incompletions. They're a mess. Let me tell you one thing about do not overrate the Cardinals based on that game. Do not overrate Cliff Kingsbury's job.
You can. I mean, you can. Well, we will talk about the Cardinals. We are going to talk about the dust-up. What are we calling it? The scream fest between Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, but it's only going one way. Does anyone understand the irony of someone screaming at another person to calm down?
That's weird. Yeah.
Like when you're screaming at the other person to calm down.
Yeah.
The message doesn't get through.
I think it is relevant to the original conversation because you got to look at that division and say the Niners are the class of it, right? Or is that going too far? Am I buying too much into Christian McCaffrey ability to stay healthy?
The bump, the McCaffrey bump.
Yeah, you saw the odds went way up for the Super Bowl.
No, I think that the 49ers were already a good team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Rams, I would say before this move, they were behind the Rams. Because the Rams have Aaron Donald and, Yeah,
but the Rams have been.
Yeah. But that's
nobody's excited about the Rams.
The Niners just lost by 2 touchdowns to the Falcons. I mean, they're not exactly a juggernaut themselves. I think that this is what they needed. I don't love trading a million picks for a running back, but I totally understand it in this particular situation.
Well, obviously the Niners like people that can do a lot of things. You mentioned before, they got a wide receiver plays running back. They got a running back plays wide receiver. They do this funky kind of thing. So McCaffrey actually fits in pretty perfectly. I know we have a lot of Niners fans who listen to this show. I know we're on in Northern California, so we want to hear from Niners fans because I have to imagine they are really, really excited today. I mean, that's all anybody wants in this life, right? If you're a fan, is when your team is actually good for your front office and the ownership to go all in. That's all anybody wants as a fan. And now the 49ers just made that move. Yes, Hampton.
I mean, you say all in. They give up a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round pick for a running back. Like, I know he's dynamic, but when was the last time that we can remember the past 2 decades where a team was like one piece away and that piece was running back?
Well, I think the only counter to that argument is he's not really a running back. He's more of a duo guy, a pass catcher running back. So I think he's got a little bit of that. Will you give me that? Maybe that's different.
100%. When was the last time that an Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey type, right, a dual threat running back was the missing piece for any team?
Well, we saw last year that a wide receiver helped them win. So let's call him a wide receiver.
Like Odell Beckham helped the Rams.
Yeah, Odell Beckham helped the Rams. That's what I'm going with.
Von Miller also helped the Rams.
Yeah, but any number two receiver on the opposite end of Cooper Kupp. I could have been their number 2 receiver, and I would have helped the Rams. All right, so at the end of the day, like,
all right, we gotta research this. We gotta look and find if there was ever a midseason addition of a running back on a Super Bowl team. None are jumping to mind. I'm not gonna lie to you. not a single one. But it had to happen. This is 102 years of NFL history.
Sure, maybe like in 1991, John Riggins. Maybe who knows? I don't know what happened, but I can't think of anything on the top of my head.
You think this is overrated? We're overblowing it.
My point is, I don't think the 49ers, and I know the NFC is down, but I don't think the 49ers were contenders out of the NFC before this trade, and I sure as heck don't think that this trade changes that in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, but what NFC team, besides Perloff's undefeated Eagles, who he doesn't even believe in fully, I mean, you're a little on the fence about the Eagles. Who in the NFC is blowing your doors off right now? Who, the 5-1 Giants? Come on.
There's not a lot blowing the doors off, but I have a lot more confidence in Rodgers and Brady figuring it out. The Rams are still the Rams and the defending champions. They're going to figure it out. There's talent there. Like, the 49ers are nice. They had that defense. They can never stay healthy. I don't trust Jimmy G. They're not going anywhere, and Christian McCaffrey isn't going to be the guy to bring them where we think that they might go.
By the way, every NFC playoff game is going to be 21-19. There's a bunch of great defenses. The Cowboys have a great defense. The Niners have an amazing defense
Eagles
here.
have a good defense.
I think the Rams with Aaron Donald are a bit. I mean, they'll be, if they make the playoffs, that's not an easy out. You're right. There might not be anyone.
The Packers should have a good defense.
Yeah,
but they
really.
don't.
Right. There's nobody blowing you away in the NFC, but you're going to look at the NFC playoff field and say there are a bunch of teams that could do something. I don't know what that
means.
And
the Vikings are significantly better than I thought.
Yeah, the Vikings are.
That defense was Darius Smith is legit lights out. So
I mean, you look at the AFC where it's the Bills and the Chiefs. It's the Bills and the Chiefs and a cliff.
Right.
So I think it's just a very different conference. And back to your original point, yeah, the Niners are definitely in this mix, and I think that's got to be what they were thinking, right? They had to look at this year as an opportunity.
I think so. And also you match the opportunity with, it looks like this is a fire sale here with Carolina. So that's going to, Robbie Anderson got traded. Obviously that was also a conflict with the coach kind of thing. He had to get out of there. But now you have McCaffrey who's been traded. Will DJ Moore get traded? Brian Burns, are people going to start rating this roster? And is their owner, who's like a hedge fund guy, going to sort of just really burn this thing all down to the ground and then build it back up?
Yeah, I don't know if there's much left on the carcass. You got those two players, DJ Moore and Brian Burns. And people were tweeting last night, oh, it looks like the Panthers are tanking. Yeah, no thanks, Captain Obvious.
Also, like, I don't even think it's like tanking. They don't even have to try to lose games now. They're just not going to be talented enough to win. So, I think that's the other opportunity where you're looking at these other teams that are looking like, is the trade deadline going to meet? And we're going to get something pretty cool and kind of feels like, like the NBA and the NHL.
Or MLB, where we always see, this feels like the Panthers, they're so obviously tanking. This is a Pittsburgh Pirates tank. They're just basically, any good player is gone.
Yeah, get traded for a player to be named later.
I think the Panthers were unwatchable before this. Oh my gosh, are they the most unwatchable team in 5 years right now? There probably have been others, but this one is tough. The Texans right now are not super fun. Sorry, Mike. I know you're a Davis Mills super fan still.
I'm slowly back
super
away. Fan has turned into like super fan.
They're not that bad. Damian Pierce, their rookie running back's okay, but the Panthers are right. The Panthers, everyone's going to be watching that game in the NFL very closely to see, hey, are there any good players here we should take off their hands?
Now the vultures are going to be flying by.
Here's the one other question, the 225-pound gorilla, which is the Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance situation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just gave up 3 draft picks next year, guys that could be helping to build your team around a young quarterback like Trey Lance, and you're getting rid of them to go all in on this year with Jimmy G. What if Jimmy G does get it done? Let's say they do win the Super Bowl or get back to the Super Bowl. Like, why are you building a team around Jimmy G knowing that you're getting rid of him? And like, it feels like, why mortgage the future for a guy that you're going to be getting rid of and having a younger guy that needs the future to build around for the future?
Well, but they're going to have McCaffrey for a couple of years. So they probably think that if he can stay healthy, he'll help Trey Lance with that dynamic running game. But you're talking about the franchise that traded Joe Montana. You don't think they'd trade away Jimmy Garoppolo after even if they win the Super Bowl this year? He's gone.
Well, or it could be an Aaron Rodgers situation where the Packers drafted a quarterback, then they were so good that it turned out it was a mistake and they just ate the pick.
Yeah, but Jimmy's not that
But,
good.
but we thought Trey Lance was coming into a hard situation this year. Like, oh, well, Jimmy G went to the NFC Championship game last year. He's been to a Super Bowl. What if Jimmy G does it again? Now it's like Trey Lance is taking over for Jimmy G now?
I think the 49ers fans would be like, thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate it, but it really is Trey's time.
And they would love to have that problem, obviously.
Great problem to have, yeah.
If they, I will say, if they win the Super Bowl with Jimmy G, then I think there's a discussion. Short of that, I mean, like,
I still don't.
Jimmy G's going to have to play a little better if they're going to win the Super Bowl. So I'm assuming this is a better Jimmy G.
Yeah, if they do win the Super Bowl, it's not going to likely be because of Garoppolo. He's going to have to make a couple throws, but like not to the point where he's their Josh Allen or he's their Patrick Mahomes, you know? You're going to be able to move on. You invested so much to move up to get Trey Lance. I mean, 3 first-rounders. He's got to play. I
would think so too, but if they win the Super Bowl, then at least it's a discussion.
Thank you for watching our video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos like this, just hit the bell.
Yeah, ring the bell.
Just hit the bell.